Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for another daily dose of Dismal Disney. We got 2 doses of Dismal Disney. This one's about Gina Carano. And yeah, Disney is going to have to release that information that they did not want to release. Yeah. And
so what happened was, for those who don't know, because I don't think you were in that video with me when I did it, was that Gina Carano is suing Disney. Everybody knows that. It got to a place, we'll talk about more about it when we go past the intro, but it got to a place where her team needed like payment information, like how much they pay actors that do similar jobs to what she did, and some other information. And Disney has taken 8 months or so and refused to give it to her. So her lawyers had to do a motion to compel to demand the information, and they won. So now Disney has to give her the information.
Yeah, so this is part of Discovery, I guess.
Yes.
And they wanted it dismissed. That didn't happen. They wanted to not give information. That didn't happen. Now, apparently, they don't have to give, as I understand it, everything. Like
no, it's not everything she asked for. Her lawyers asked for, but they have to provide stuff. What they're trying to do is they're trying to use this to determine damages, and they need to know what payment was made across the board to try to like find a reasonable amount for damages. Is what this is for.
So how much she lost because
basically, yes. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You will get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
I think you were woohoo-less in the last video.
Well, that's not my fault.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't ask you for a woohoo. So let's talk about this a little bit more. So I actually had a chance to meet Gina Carano in person in Ohio, and she was very, very nice. And she said to say hello. She appreciates your coverage on Pirates and Princesses. And yeah, I think she honestly, it's so weird. Everybody's got this, well, by everybody, I mean the weirdos in Hollywood and the media. I think that she's this like horrible, terrible, goose stepping horror. And she's just a nice lady who wants to work.
Well, I wonder what that's like.
She just wants to work.
Everybody thinks that about me too. And I'm actually nothing like that. I have a low BS tolerance, and I hate bullying. And I hate when I see injustice. I just, then the fire eyes happen, and I'm like, hell no. And this was one giant injustice. She should never been fired to begin with because the pronoun issue. Should have been fired to begin with because what she said about the Holocaust was completely true. It was historically accurate. None of that should have allowed her to be fired. None of it should have. I'm pissed.
Personally think that there were people at the company that had an issue with her for whatever reason. And they just were looking for a reason to
well, I know X was mad at her as soon as she wouldn't put pronouns in her bio, even though she was very gracious about why she wouldn't. And they immediately started attacking her and targeting her. And I'm sure they were calling Lucasfilm and demanding stuff. And it was a simple, I just don't want to put pronouns in my bio, which was completely valid, especially when a lot of people, Lucasfilm did not have pronouns in their bio. And I think that led down the path where anything she said was going to be scrutinized. And then it was clear she wasn't like in lockstep with the far left. And then they got mad about that because it wasn't the political, opinions they wanted to hear. And what made me really mad, besides the fact they fired her unfairly, was the fact that you had people like Mark Hamill, Pedro Pascal, Mark Ruffalo, Rachel Zegler out there making way worse comments in some cases and definitely politically charged. And they were allowed to stay because they leaned the other way.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, because, people are trying to make the defense, it's at will. And it's like, yeah, it is at will employment. Yeah, she is a gig worker, basically. If you're an actor, actress, you're a gig worker. But it's showing that politics absolutely played into their decision because
there's a pattern of behavior. Like you can be an at-will employee, but if you can prove that you were treated unfairly compared to people who were treated, they all did the same thing, but they all were allowed to go and to keep going, and you were kicked out. I'm sure you could still win because it wasn't evenly enforced.
Yeah, we saw that, again, people compare her often to Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler made some pretty loaded comments, and
nothing she said was as bad as some of the stuff Rachel said.
No. But she was allowed to continue. I mean, at that point, they already had the movie in the can, so I don't think they had a choice but to deal with her. But yeah, so this is Jean Shar. Is this her lawyer? Do we know if this is her lawyer or a lawyer? And he broke it down. So let's go out here. April 7th, Discovery. Let's see. He is a happy husband and a lawyer. Okay. Discovery motion granted in Gina Carano's case against Disney. The court is forcing Disney to turn over information about how stars like Pedro Pascal, Rosario Dawson, and others from The Mandalorian, other Disney Plus Star Wars shows, and the forthcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie were compensated for their roles. I wouldn't want my salary history coming out.
But they have to, because they have to know, okay, because what was going to happen was, it was rumored that they were going to do a Rangers of the New Republic show, and it was going to be Cara Dune, a vehicle, so it would be, she'd be like one of the big stars of it, and it was going to go on. I mean, I was very excited about. I very much wanted to see it because I thought her character was a female character done right, and so I was very, very happy about it. And then they scrapped that because they got rid of her. So part of the damage is going to be, what did she lose being kicked out of The Mandalorian? What did she lose for, that possible other show? And so they need to see what other actors are paid in similar positions when they were leading shows or whatever, or even as a guest on the show, so that they can make sure she is paid fairly for her damages if she wins.
So the thing to consider too is that it wasn't just them getting rid of her; it was the way they did it, and then an official Lucasfilm account making a statement that they don't work with her because she made abhorrent tweets.
Right. So that's going to affect your career.
Yeah. How many other jobs would she have gotten at other studios had they not made that comment and blown it up in the media?
Yeah, and that's something else they're going to consider, I'm sure, because it's not even just that they got rid of her. It was the damages that they themselves inflicted when they made comments like that.
Yeah. So yeah, he goes on to say Disney must produce verified spreadsheets showing actors pay across multiple shows. And that's going to that'll hit the media because all this will be public. I guess.
That's what they don't want. They don't want people to know this stuff.
Yeah. And they're going to be like, wait, how much you paying Pedro Pascal? Like, what? Key evidence that will help show the financial harm Disney has imposed on Gina when unfairly and unlawfully terminated her.
It's not just that. Other actors in the show, it could be gender-based or other reasons. They might not be getting as much as somebody else. They don't know that. When this goes out there, they're going to know it. And that's one reason I think Disney was stalling on it.
And that has come up before. Like, every actor cuts their own deal, depending on their agent, depending on, what they think they're going to bring to the project. And in a lot of cases, a lot of people don't know what their co-stars are getting. It comes out later, and then there's animosity.
Well, I can tell you for a fact, there was an instance, it was a while ago. They were having strikes at the one school. And it came out, they released in the newspaper, because it was public information, the teachers' pay scales, what every teacher was getting paid in that school district. And the one teacher I know that was working as a math teacher had been there longer and was actually wasn't running the department, but was doing a lot to run the department. And she had a master's degree and everything else. And she was getting paid less than some of the men that got hired after her without a master's degree. So and that was just one example. It was across the board. We had examples of this where someone was getting paid less than somebody else. And it did not go well. Let's put it that way.
Oh, no, it never does. I mean, that's in a lot of cases, an employer's nightmare is to have the employees, just kibitz in the break room about what they make. I mean, normally you don't tell a coworker what you make, because if it turns out that you're making more than they are, then it's really awkward.
Or they could just pay, have the steps like they're supposed to do, and just make sure you're paid within that, and you get this much more if you have this, and that. You know what I mean? And then it's easy to know what you're going to make, and your expectations are set. And then, if you want to leave, go get paid someplace, go get paid better someplace else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and some companies does, but I know, corporate America, they basically pay whatever they think they need to pay to get somebody there. And in some cases it's exorbitant, and it's like, oh wait, I've been here for how many years? And you just walked in and you're getting paid like 3 times what I'm getting paid. Like, what the hell? So, Gina Carano reposted this on X, and this whole thing is being bankrolled by Elon Musk too. I think this whole lawsuit. So that's gonna be. I'm sure Elon is itching for Discovery because he has it in. I know
Disney. A lot of people are itching for Discovery, and I think beyond this is just the first part, like with the find out damages. But if it's going to come out to see if she was mistreated, if there was concerted effort to cause her problems, that would probably come out later too. I mean, if there's going to be communications and stuff like that to prove a paper trail, to prove animosity, to prove that they deliberately went out of their way to cause her problems, get rid of her. If that gets found and pushed in Discovery, they're not going to want that out for sure.
Oh, no, no. So she said, small breath of fresh air in this long, arduous process. I'm grateful to the court for moving so quickly. They thought it was going to take longer to get them to compel. I look forward to the details of my case becoming public and clearing my name, which will allow me to continue doing what I love without such brutal discrimination. I remain incredibly grateful for this opportunity to defend myself against the Goliath. Thank you, Elon Musk.
It's really hard to challenge Disney, and very few people actually win.
Yeah.
And the ones that do it, they don't come out unscathed.
That's just it. I mean, we've covered, unfortunately, Sandy Kuba, the whistleblower, Disney whistleblower. I mean, it took a horrendous toll on her family. Her husband ended his own life over it, I guess. And it was, I mean, what their playbook is to basically run you out of money and cause as much financial ruin as they can. That's how Disney lawyers tend to operate. Threaten you, and if that doesn't work, we're going to run you out of money and you're going to pay through the nose, and we have more money than you. But we're dealing with Elon Musk. So, like, he's got infinite money, so it's not going to work this time. And I think if Elon Musk wasn't backing her up, I don't know how it would have gone.
It's a very scary thing, and I think this is a good precedent if she could win, because it's ridiculous that just having an opinion, like some would argue, if you're doing it, being an actor or something, you shouldn't post politics and stuff like that online. You shouldn't talk about it, which, I normally would say, yeah, that's probably wise. However, in this instance, they have so many cited examples and proof of other actors that are in a similar position of her at the same company doing the exact same thing, and sometimes saying worse or posting worse. And they're allowed to go unpunished. And then she posted something that was historically accurate. And she didn't even take sides. It wasn't like because the Democrats and Republicans. She just basically said that the whole thing with the Holocaust was the only way they could get away with doing what they did and rounding up people was because they made you hate your neighbor based on something like, your religion or whatever. And it doesn't happen normally because we're all appalled by that. But at the same time, the last 10 years, people are hating each other over stupid things. I've never seen anything like it. It is insane. Like if you just post, anything that they think is MAGA or far left, it's just one giant like screaming match. And it's, I can't comprehend it, but it's not that dissimilar, even though she never said Republicans and Democrats or took a side. She's just saying that if you're hating someone based on something nebulous, you really should be concerned, because that's kind of what led to terrible things happening. And she's correct. And historically, it was accurate.
Yeah, it was. And then we had people, again, it's not even what you say, it's who you are when you say it.
Exactly.
Because there were people on the other side of it that were saying basically the same thing in defense of the Holocaust Museum, I think. And it turned out that,
Susan Sarandon said something similar, and it was okay when they did it, that was okay. And that's what I'm mad about, because it's like the bullying and the toxic BS has started since, day one. And she was such a good character. She did such a good job on the Star Wars show. I was really happy she was there. And I loved Cara Dune. And right away when they had her character appear, we were like some of the first ones saying, hey, this is a character done right, a female character done correctly. And then they went and did this because of pronouns initially. And it's like, she didn't have to post pronouns in her bio. She didn't feel comfortable doing it. Plus, she also said, if you want to do that, be my guest, because I think bullying is wrong. And then they turn out and bully her.
Yeah. People are saying that Disney's going to offer a settlement. I think they flat said they're not going to.
They already said they weren't going to do it. Yeah. Disney basically said they weren't going to.
They want Discovery.
Yeah. Well, she wants Discovery too. Yeah. They don't want Discovery. She wants Discovery. And I don't blame her, because she's got to clear her name. It's not just about getting money. Her name's still been damaged because they made that abhorrent, and because she got fired from Disney, and everybody's flipping afraid of Disney. I'd want to clear my name too.
I think if this had, and I said this before when we covered this before, if this had happened a year ago, I don't think it would have gotten to this point. It's because when it happened, it was just the perfect storm. And, it was at the height of quote unquote wokeness, and everybody was trying really hard to purge any conservatives from any and all entertainment. Right. And now that Disney's walking it back, I do not believe they would have done this. I mean, they're working with other conservatives now. I mean, they got Kelsey Grammer is going to be in, spoiler, he's going to be in Doomsday as Beast again. And, Tim Allen is no longer verboten. They're working with him again.
So they tried very hard to McCarthy the heck out of everything, and it didn't work. And you're not going to get away with it because these people didn't do anything. And Gina Carano didn't do anything wrong. Nothing she said warranted the stuff she got, and nothing she said was wrong. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this up.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. So there we go. I am very interested. I'm sure
Yes.
many people are very interested.
They have 20 days to
discovering.
comply. 20 days to comply.
Cough it up, Disney. We'll see what happens. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.